Two friends, different worlds, aligned anyway.
Hey everyone, welcome to Align Anyway. I'm your co-host Josh.
And I'm your co-host, Tiffany.
And today, as usual, we got a lot to unpack. We're going to be talking about, are you a safe friend really? Now, we all say we're good friends, safe friends, the ones that people can trust, but what if some of the ways that we show up is not actually safe at all? Tonight isn't about calling other people out. It's about asking ourselves, am I actually a safe person to be loved by? Because being a good friend and being a safe friend are not the same thing. However, before we get into all that, let's talk about any updates. Tiffany, my friend, how are you? How you been?
I'm good. Today was a really good day. I know, we always talk all throughout the week, and this week has been tough, and there's been a lot of change on the horizon. And that has had me really anxious about like what I'm gonna do as I'm getting accustomed and acclimated here. And then it's like the thought of bringing on another change has me like anxious. But I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, let it go, let it flow, and let's see what God has in store for me. Let's see what the universe has in store. And I just want to be open to all possibilities. So today I told Dawn, I was like, I really just want to get out in nature. Like I want to ground. And I had read this thing, I'm really very much into like astrology and my sign, this.
Yeah.
And so I read something that said that Capricorns are very like, ambitious people, which we know, but also they are earth signs. So it's very necessary that they get out in nature and ground. So we laid out a picnic blanket and we went to this park. It's called Dick's Park in Raleigh. It's about 10 minutes from our house. And it's just these open fields. There's hammocks, there's picnic tables. They even have like a little snack shop where you can go get like salad, drinks. We got a mimosa and just like chilled out and laid on the ground. And it was amazing. And I had the best time. And Don was playing like the best, like upbeat Sunday music. We had the sunroof open and it was just a good day. It was a good for the soul. You could feel the sun, the rays are hitting your heart. Like it just felt really good. And I'm like, damn, it felt good to have one of those days. And I'm like, okay, the veil is starting to lift. And then I realized, damn, seasonal depression is real because the moment it starts becoming spring and I'm starting to like, okay, I'm melting, I'm coming back alive. And I start to wonder, I'm like, you know what? How much of my depression is just seasonal? Right. Obviously, I know there's other things, other factors. I'm bipolar, so it's deeper than that.
But it does have a huge factor to it. You're right.
It really does. And I'm like, damn, like really all it took was some sun and nature. And I just felt so good. I felt really good about going into the week and getting some things done. You know, we premiere on Wednesday. Dawn's birthday is Wednesday. And I'm just like, we have a lot to celebrate. And I just felt really good. And I wanted to just stay in the moment of feeling good. And I wanted to savor it. And I talk about like glimmers, right? How important it is to hold on to those glimmers of joy. And today was a glimmer of joy that I just want to like soak off of for the remainder of the week so that I can have a good week. So,
Yeah.
how was yours?
I love that. I'm going to take it right from that joyous place. Today, I got a fortune cookie from Panda Express out of my dinner, but on the fortune cookie said, do not settle for less than the best. And I think I said something like exactly like that to you. Like, we don't accept anything less than winning. I don't care what frame of mind you're at. I don't care what's going on. Winning is all that matters. I don't mean monetarily. I mean just the frame of mind of winning and not accepting defeat. And when I saw that fortune cookie, I was like, yeah, this is a sign. Okay, maybe. Or this is just kind of the manifestation of what I'm trying to put into existence right now. And then that sign was like, hey, keep it going. You're on the right track. And I woke up today. Sundays are usually my clean days. I want to be a little spontaneous. I don't normally cook, but the one thing I can really cook is breakfast. So when I do get in the frame of mind to cook, it's going to be a good old brunch. So Dylan and I were having a conversation and He was like, "Well, I sometimes wish that you would cook more with me." I said, "Oh, yeah? Yeah? Okay. Well, I'm gonna show you." So I go to the fridge, whip out the eggs, whip out the biscuits, whip out the bacon, and I fucking did the damn thing. We had waffles, we had sausage gravy. You would think we had a whole brunch family reunion over. It was just him and I. We have a
Yes.
lot of leftover food, but
I wish I had some.
we had a little team effort, so it was good. It was good. Today was a good afternoon, a good morning. Just got to relax, wash the car, got some grocery shopping done, did a little laundry, a little domestication. You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah.
good. I feel like that's a good day. Like, I wanted to make sure that I could get home in enough time to, like, clean the kitchen and, like, get my desk and everything straightened and organized. Sundays is, like, my reset day. And anytime I actually have time to do the reset, I feel like it's gonna be a good week. But it's like when I don't have time, if I've overextended myself on a Sunday and I said yes to something and I'm like, why did I say yes to that? Because I like to be in the house by at least 5 o'clock so that I can get my things done for Monday. Like that's a necessity for Sundays.
I feel you. I feel like I turn into a monster or something if I'm out of the house after a certain
Same.
period of time.
Same.
On Sundays, like any other day of the week is fine, but on Sundays, I need my shows, I need my laundry done, I need my house in order. I need just like a nice zen before I know I'm getting my ass into a week.
Exactly.
I just know that I'm going to be getting into some of that. Now we're here talking about this loaded, complex topic of, are we safe friends? Are we safe people? Are we
Yeah.
safe people to be loved by and to be accepting of love? And, I'm interested, Tiffany, to hear from you just to get us started. In your eyes, how do you feel about what I just asked you?
I feel like what you said is like, it's such a loaded question. Am I a safe friend? I think that, you know, I don't think I'm always a safe friend all the time.
Tell me more.
Just like I don't think that I'm always a safe partner all the
Mm.
time either. And I wish that I could say that I was and like, yeah, I'm perfect, but I'm not perfect. So I think that there are times where, depending on what I have going on, I might not be the safest friend because I may not understand that struggle. And to me, it may not seem like a struggle. So, therefore, I could be seen as not a safe friend. I'll give you an example. I had a friend, you know this friend, you don't, you're not a fan, but she was struggling with deciding whether to pay for her horse to, I think, be like have a barn here, or not here, but at the time living in Florida. And I didn't really understand like what the struggle was. I'm like, okay, well, if you're struggling with bills and you're struggling with other things or whatever the case may be, then why not just sell the horse? And then now your struggles, poof, they're gone.
Horses are not cheap. They're a pretty penny.
I know. And so for me, I'm thinking like, okay, not a big struggle.
Yeah.
And then I think I even said something like, because she was upset that I wasn't as upset. And I was like, well, I really don't understand. Like, girl, I'm from the hood. Like, we got the struggles I'm used to people talking about are like, well, I either got to worry about feeding my kids or keeping the lights on. So I was like, I mean, this struggle seems like a pretty easy 1, 2, 3 fix, right? And I was like, you could sell the horse, right? You would get a lot of money, I think, for that. And then your
Yeah.
problems would be gone. And, she looked at me like I had 5 heads. And I was like, the devil, like, how dare I say this? Because this animal is her family.
Uh-huh.
And it's like if I were to say, sell Brady, sell Loki, you would be like, what the, like off with her head. Right. And so for me, I guess in that moment, like I really didn't understand it. And I was like, this sounds like rich people problems. And I'm sorry that I don't get it. But for me, I felt like she was tone deaf. But, I have to kind of look in and be like, you know what? Maybe I was the one who was tone deaf. Regardless of whatever the issues are, a problem to that person is still their problem, regardless of whether I understand it or not. It's still something that causes her to lose sleep. And I was not a friend that she could talk to about it. And I wasn't safe in that instance. So I think that there are a lot of occasions where we may not be safe, and it's not necessarily on purpose. Like I think that I was safe. Like I thought I was providing a great example to fix a problem. I was being very practical and logical, really.
Sure.
I wasn't thinking emotionally like I normally would. I was very much like, "Hey, okay, you have a problem. Let's talk about ways to fix this problem. Boom, boom, boom. Easy fix.
Hmm.
What's the problem? What's the deal?"
Yeah.
And for me, it came off a little bit too, hey, there are other bigger problems in the world, right? And so that right there makes me an unsafe friend because it means that like you are going to think that I'm going to judge you if you talk to me about something. If your problem isn't, a big enough problem, am I going to just dismiss it? And I could see how people could think that way. That's not the case with me, obviously, but I could see how maybe that's now the perception that that friend might have of me based off of what happened.
I would almost agree with you 100%, except I think the fact that you have self realization in the space really gives you credibility to it, right? Like, if you didn't agree that this is not a safe place for you to be giving advice on for her because you don't have that experience or same exposure or problem in the same parallel universe as her, because it's not the same problem. You, like you said, you grew up in different lifestyles, completely different universes, and what she might think is a problem is not the same problem that you think because it wasn't real life shit for you. However, yes, to her point, it is an animal that she loves and respects, and it's not just that easy, but it is also a horse, and it's a very different animal. It's not something you have in your home that you're cuddling with in your bed that you're building. Like, yes, you can ride it and you build an emotional connection to it and you love it and all the things, but it's also a prize horse. Like, these animals are also used for showcasing, and I guess dogs are too, if we want to have an argument there. But I think dogs are a little more domesticated, in my opinion, than horses are. And there's not enough vets in the world to handle for just horses. There's a special kind of vet. So, I mean, there is special care involved. It's not just as simple as having a pet. Yeah, there's emotional attachment again, but there's more complexities to it. So I understand both sides of it. So I wouldn't say that you're unsafe. I would say that you were misunderstood, but you still came to the forefront, whether it's now or then, and you're still like, maybe the way I approach that makes me unsafe in the moment. But I think as a whole, the unsafety of being that friend doesn't encompass that for me in this scenario.
You know what? Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I definitely felt like I could see where I could be unsafe, but I didn't feel completely 100% like I was because it's like, and if anything, there's some times where I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but I can't understand from that level of just like, I don't know what the word exactly would be, but
Mhm.
like I said earlier, right? That sounds like rich people problems. It sounds like I can't get that. I can't fathom that because that's not something that I would think that I would ever need to choose between. That's not how I grew up. That's not what I saw. I just, I was like, wow, we got a problem, let's fix it. So I definitely could see your point there. But I think for me, it's like I'm really big on, okay, if this is how you perceived that and this is how I made you feel, then that's the reality, right?
Yeah.
Because my
Fair.
actions or my words caused that and I have to
Hmm.
own that. But that doesn't mean that I have to necessarily change my opinion. I still do think that that's rich people problems and it's something that I can't really understand. However, I could be a sounding board for
Yeah.
someone else should they be going through something like that again. And then, I think about times with my partner, even when I haven't been safe. And that a time would be like when I use something that he shared with me and been like, well, remember you said X, Y, and Z. Maybe you're doing this because of that.
Mm.
Right. Now, for me, that's logic and just trying to like piece together some things.
Hmm.
But I could see how a partner would feel like, hey, that's a bit unsafe
Sure.
because I shared this with you and now you're using it against me. I don't necessarily see it in that way, depending on what it is, but I've been told that before. So I do think that it would be unrealistic to say that I'm a safe person all the time because I think that it changes. And I may be safe for some people and not another. Like I'll give you an example. I might be safe with my sisters. If they do something dumb, I could be like, that was some dumb shit. What the fuck were you thinking? But like maybe I can't say that to you, Josh. Like maybe we're not there yet. And me saying that to you would make you think that I'm unsafe. But if I say it to my sisters, they're like, fuck that bitch, she get on my nerves, but then they're also like, that bitch got my back at all times. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
So it's gonna vary depending on the person. I think that even with my sisters, I haven't been a safe space because if I'm going through something right now, it's very hard for me to be able to be there for you when you're going through something because I can't take myself out of my own storm to be able to help shield you from yours. So, and you know this with being bipolar too, like it's very hard for me to get out of my own zone. Either I'm going to isolate or I'm going to be so hyper focused or fixated on what I have going on. That could very well make me someone who's not safe. But then on the flip side, when I'm hypomania, that can make me a very safe person because I am overextending myself. I'm saying yes to everything and I'm showing up and I'm being there and I have all these ideas and I want to do these great things. But then what's happening is I'm ignoring my things and I'm pushing and pushing and pushing it down. And then boom, 2 weeks later, I'm isolating again and I'm completely and utterly depressed. So I think for me, safe is different.
Yeah, I hear you. I really do. When it comes to bipolar for me, it's almost like the exact opposite. Even though we do have the same symptom, I am bipolar manic. I feel like when I'm in those frame of minds, I tend to want to help people out more because it gets me away from my own shit. Like I'm able to then hyper focus and hyper fixate on my people's problems than worrying about mine. It's almost like, oh, okay, I can put this away for a minute. Your turn. Let me help you. Now I want to be the avid helper. I want to be the empath. I want to be the fixer. I want to be Mr. Fix It. And I know that's toxic. That could be toxic positivity, which is exactly what I said last episode that I don't want to do. So now that I'm talking through this, I'm like, here we go
I was
again.
just gonna say, I could see that for you too, where it's like, okay, I'm focused. You won't focus on then, and you and I are opposite in that way. And I wish we could join the two because then it would be perfect. But like you'll even with me, you'll be like, you'll be going through something I won't even know. And you're like talking about my problem or what I'm going through. And then we maybe get to yours later, or you tell me the next day that you had something going on too. And I'm like, why? I didn't even know. And I don't know if it's toxic, right? Because it's not a bad thing for the other person, right? Because you're still there for that other person at least.
And
It may be
self-induced
toxic for
poison.
you because now you're not working on your stuff. You're not feeding attention to your own thing so that you can fix it. You're just kind of sweeping it under the table and replacing it with somebody else's drama,
100%.
which is avoiding, right? And that's what we do. It's a defense mechanism that we're drawn to do in that place. But I think that also makes you a safe space for people though,
Mhm.
because you are able to kind of turn off your stuff and be there for other people. But that just means that you need a person who knows that about you, who can still say, hey, reminder, I know you were just talking to me about X, Y, and Z, but let me make sure I check in on you. Like, like when I ask you, like, hey, how's your ear doing today?
Uh-huh.
How is that going? Because you may not be telling me. So I have to remember to ask you. There was this one time at St. Pete Girl Boss where I used to do a lot of networking in St. Pete, Florida. And Kelly Abanda is amazing. And she had this talk, and it was talking about the people that step up and then the people that step back. So the people that step up were your normal extroverts, people who normally step up and talk and communicate. And then the ones that take a step back are your introverts, the ones who don't normally. So what she was saying is the extroverts needed to switch and they needed to step back so that the introverts could step up. So you just need a friend who can step up for you whenever you need to take a step back. So if I notice that you're focusing a lot on like me and maybe what I have going on, or maybe you're focusing a lot on the podcast or something, I've got to remember to be like, hey, what's going on with you? How was your day? What do you need to talk through? And I think that's just kind of knowing your friends too, right? Who you need in order for you to feel safe so that you can get that out as well and not feel like you have to only worry about what other people are going through. So
Yeah.
that's my work that I want to do to kind of be better because I realize I am that extrovert and I do easily step up. So I need to make sure that I do better at stepping back and asking that other person, like, where are you at?
So I would call that like emotional safety, right? So what would you say emotional safety actually looks like for you?
For me, I would say that emotional safety looks like showing up. And showing up doesn't necessarily mean like present, right? I think I shared this before, but being that person to just shoot a text. Hey, notice you were a bit quiet. Just wanted to let you know if you want to talk, I'm here. If not, I still love you. And then that's it. Because I do have a tendency to go quiet. And what happens is that when I go quiet, and I feel like someone's reached out and I haven't reached back out, I get this analysis paralysis. And now I can't reach back out to them because I'm so anxious that they're going to bring up how I ignored them or how I didn't talk to them. So I just never end up hitting them up again because I'm terrified that we're going to have this awkward conversation and it's going to look like I'm a bad friend. So having someone who just shows up and is like, hey, I know you were a stranger. I know how you get some time. I still love you. All love. That would be like my emotional safety. Someone
Mhm.
who knows the craziness that's going on inside my brain, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I convinced myself that you hated me. And I was so embarrassed and I was so shameful that I didn't say anything to you because I hated myself for not reaching back out to you. Like I've gotten that bad. And now saying it out loud, I feel like it sounds a little crazy. And I should definitely probably talk to my therapist about that next.
When we first became friends, since we're in this honest space, I didn't know that that was you, right? Because it was a new friendship. And sometimes when I'm messaging people and they don't necessarily respond, you wonder, like, are you A, making them annoyed? B, are you texting too much? Is it a bad time? Are they going through something? d- d- there's all these things you think of on the other end of that person as you're being not ignored, but to them, and the perception is ignorance, right? But understanding that, like, sometimes you just get in your own way and your own space and your own pace, and then life happens, and then you just forget. But if you know the intention isn't ill and you know that about your friend, then that should be the safe space going, girl, look, you're a mess. You don't answer me. So if I don't answer you, you're not going to be upset about it because you know the two for tango thing's going to be here. So if that understanding is mutual, there should be no fucking problems, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you answer me, great. If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. But guess what? We're still going to find a way to talk because if it's important, I was like, Tiffany, SOS, you'd be like, girl, what's up? Let me call you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's what I told my friends before too. I'm like, yo, if you really do need me, like you gotta say like SOS, like, pick up, whatever, and then I'll do it, you know. But sometimes I'm like, I think, and another thing that kind of will stop me too is like if I know that I got a lot to catch up with you on and I don't have a lot of time, like let's say I only got 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes.
Sure.
I'm not going to answer my phone because I'm like, I know this is going to be a 2-hour conversation. I don't have the time.
Hmm.
But like something that was pointed out to me was, so what? Take the 10, 15-minute conversation because at least you had your checkpoint. But in my head, that makes me anxious. And it's like, I'm sorry that all these things make me anxious. I can't even tell you why. And I've read something on Facebook that was like talking about how did you know you had anxiety? And it was when I was in, fifth grade and I read ahead all the sentences in the book to make sure that by the time it got to me, I knew what to read. I was like memorizing it. And I was like, I used to do that all the time to make sure that what I said sounded right. I still do that now as an adult in training. I do that. I read it ahead to make sure that I sound good. I enunciate my words. I'm very like locked in on that.
Hmm.
And now when it comes to calling or text messaging, because we have so much constant communication with people, I find myself anxious all the time if I didn't message someone back in time. What do they think about me? Do they think that I'm being rude? Oh my gosh, I have to make sure I get back to them. It's too many people, too many things at one time. And it in my head, it has me thinking that maybe I'm not the safe space because I'm not as great as responding all the time. And then I get this anxiety, and then that anxiety makes me just shut down and I just won't talk to you because I just think you're mad at me. And so I feel like that could make me unsafe. But then I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe I've just had a lot of unsafe friends that I have like PTSD from that or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because like for example, to the call thing today, we had a pretty lengthy conversation. We had some business to discuss. So I could have just picked up the phone and called you unannounced and you've been like, "Oh my god, I don't have the time." But if I don't, because I was just texting him and he knows I have my phone in my hand. But oh my god, that would be really
Yes, that's
yeah,
exactly how it sounds up here. You get
right?
it.
I get it. Anxiety, but yes, I get it. But then there's also the other end, like I'm gonna text you quick because I know you. I'm gonna say, "Hey, do you have time for a quick call?" You say yes, I call you. That's not cell phone warfare. I'm not holding you hostage by a phone call. I hate that shit. Text me to make sure I'm available. If I am, if we're going to talk, great. I'll let you know. Hey, yeah, call me, girl. We're good. I'm driving home. Great. Ring a ding ding. We talk for an hour, hang up, have a good life, talk to you in 2 hours. You
Right.
know?
Because that's usually what it ends up
Right.
being.
But in the same sense, like have the mutual respect to know that about your friend and don't be that phone asshole holding them hostage with a goddamn phone call. Don't
I
do
love that.
it. Don't
I
do it.
love that. But you know what? I think it reminds me of like other people sometimes feel privy to your time or your free time. Like who be like, oh, well, you weren't doing anything. How come you didn't call me back or text me back? I saw you posted on Instagram. Yeah, that's what I was doing. So I was doing
You
something.
know, it's
It
funny.
takes time.
I've learned that your call you back just means I'll talk to you later.
Oh yeah. My call me back definitely means I'll talk to you later. That does not mean I'm calling you back
I can't
today.
tell you how many times I've
I'm gonna
talked to
call you
Tiffany.
back at someday.
I'll talk to her on the way to work. She'll be like, let me call you back when I get to my office. I'm like, girl, you know that's not happening. I'll talk to you at 4 p.m. on the way home.
Oh, you wanna get to my office? I'm busy. Once I get to my
I know
office, that's
that.
it.
You
I
know
mean,
that.
I'm a
It's
completely different person. It's like, boom. I don't know. But that's just, that's how we say later. Like, Imma call you back.
right.
Imma call you back. It could be
Right.
next week. It could be next
Right.
month. You're gonna get a call back from me eventually. But like, I'm to the point where like even when it comes to going places and visiting places, like if I'm there and I can see you, I will see you. But just because I am in your city does not mean I have the time, space, and energy to see you. And just because I don't see you or I don't hit you up doesn't mean that I'm not a safe friend. It doesn't mean that I'm not a good friend. It means that I have a life too and a family too. And when we can link up, great. It's all
Mhm.
love. But if we can't, I'm cannot deal with the making me feel bad. And it's like my mom always says, people can't make you feel this way. So clearly it's probably me and my anxiety. But like that's how bad it can get. I'm like, oh, this person hates me. They're mad at me. I'm never gonna talk to them again because I knew that I didn't have an extra 2 hours in my day to be able to go visit them because I got X, Y, and Z going on. But I'll feel bad and then I avoid that person.
No, I have no problem if, like, for example, my brother, love him, and he gets bored. You know, he's going through a divorce. He's alone right now, sitting at home a lot after work. So he needs some hobbies, and he likes to talk to his family. And I'm his bro, so we like to have some good old honest conversation. But he calls me when I'm it's so inopportune. Like I'll be at Disney, I'll be at Universal, I'll be sitting down to play a game with my husband, I'll be just eating dinner, and I text him, and he's not the type to text back or even throw a thumbs up or a heart on a message. He just like ignores you. So I'm like, fuck you, dude. So I'll be like, hey, not available, and he'll just like ghost me. And then I'll get a phone call a week later, and then I ghost him. And then I'll get another phone call like the third time in a row, and I'm like, okay, I actually have like a half hour. I better answer this phone call, or else I'm the asshole now because he's continuously tried to reach out to me. And then you know, like for example, we'll get into how I'm not a safe friend now because this actually happened 2 days ago. He's going through divorce, and he asked me very blatantly. So, and he's not really one for feelings or emotion, or to even take criticism. For him to ask me this, it was a big deal. He says, "Josh, what am I doing wrong in life as a person?" And I said, "That's okay. That's a very firm question. Like, where is this coming from?" And he goes, I feel like I need to know. Like, I'm 40 years old. I'm divorced. I had this job I'm not happy in. I don't have any hobbies. I really don't have a lot of friends. He also has MS, so he's dealing with that as well. That's a recent diagnosis of his, and he's just not understanding like where to navigate. His wife cheated on him, broke his heart, so he's just like in this broken piece. But he also like designates a ton of his time to my family, like so much so where he's so involved in everything they do, which isn't bad. I mean, I'm not downing being with your family, like spend time with them, but there's a point where like every day you're going to their house, you're having dinner over there, you know, it's just like you're not doing anything with your
Gotta
life. And
live your life.
that's exactly it. So the advice I had given him said, look, you had it all, right? You had the wife, you had the car, you had the job. His wife talked about being in his job because of his MS condition. He was working at a machine factory. So she thought it was better for him to take a less stressful job physically. So, but she was also using that as a crutch to make him stay in the marriage. Like, I'm not going to stay with you if you don't get a new job. You need to change. It's stressing you out. It's hurting your MS. Like, just using it as an attackful tactic. And he did. He listened because he wanted to save the marriage. So he quit his job, found a part-time job that was easier on his MS, and then realized, oh shit, I don't like this job. I'm not happy or comfortable here. I'm not making enough money. He asked his boss for the job back, and they basically said, sorry, we filled your position. Too bad, so sad. And he couldn't get his job back. So now, then he finds out again that she's cheating on him for a second time and having an affair behind his back. And now he's living in this pit of despair. And I said, dude, at what point are you going to wake up and realize this is your time to shine? Like, if you're out there and you're divorced and you think like everything's stacked up against you, like, you can do something different with yourself. But the minute you put on that title, if we're going to refer back to earlier episodes, is, you know, the minute you put on the title and you make that title everyone else and your personality is everyone else, you no longer are living for you inside. You're only living for a shadow of who you think you could be. And I said, at what point are you going to wake the fuck up and like do something different, man? Like, you gotta turn the wheel here somewhere. If not, you're going to wake up one day, this condition is going to take you over. Get out of the house, do a walk, join an exercise group, join a basketball club, go anywhere, go to a movie by yourself, go to a restaurant, go to a bar, go on a walk on a lake somewhere. I don't care what the fuck you do, but get a hobby, change it up, do something different, or be stuck in the same pit of despair. And I know that kind of shit is hard to hear. So I know he asked for that, right? I mean, that was a different scenario as a safe friend. Like, he wants advice. I'll tell you what you're doing wrong in life. You're doing all this, but that's only my viewpoint. Like, you can only do so much with advice that you're giving people. You either take it and you really absorb that in, or you don't. So if you're asking me to implement some change, that's great. But if not, like, I'm not the one for you, because I'm going to give it to you straight. It's going to hurt, but it's going to be real. And it's going to be from a place of love and care and concern, because nobody else will give it to you. And maybe that's why he came to me, because he knew I would. But at the same time, it did hurt me to say those things to him because I love him. He's my brother. But man, it felt good to get a lot off my chest for him, because I also told him, like, this stuff that's eating you alive has made you resentful. It's made you hateful. You have daddy issues. His dad has never been around his whole life. I'm like, you've got to understand, like, there's some deep rooted shit here. You need a therapist. And this is
Yeah.
the time to make change. You got this, man. But I don't know when I became the younger brother therapist of the group, but that
How
goes
much
back.
older?
He's 40. I'll be 39 in a few
Okay.
weeks.
So it's not okay.
Yeah, I'll be
Gotcha.
41 in July.
Right. I've got a question for you. Do you
Yeah.
feel like that conversation made you not a safe friend because of your honesty?
I think he came to me because he felt I was safe. I think my delivery was cutthroat, but it was also very honest. So I feel like the honesty part is subjective. I think that's up to who's taking the discussion. I think the ability to come to me knowing I'm a safe place to give that to you does speak to my character if you're the kind of person that's willing to hear it. If you're not willing to hear it, then I'm the villain.
I
So
understand.
it's very subjective.
Right. And that's what I was trying to say earlier too. But I think in this instance, if he came to you, it's because you were a safe friend. I would come to you too with that. And I have with honest things, but like I'll also be honest too with my friends. Like, hey, this is where I'm at. There are certain things that are really off limits. Like when it comes to my relationship, if I'm talking about my relationship and you kind of go for one route or another and it's like, okay, yeah, I wouldn't take that, or remember I told you the whole it couldn't be me, or I would cut that. That's when it's like, no, man, relationships are so much more complicated than I'm staying or I'm going. It's not what we're doing here.
Sure.
We're figuring out how we grow, how we get to the next level and what that looks like. And I don't feel safe around people who their first comment, whether that be a friendship, a job, or whatever, is to just leave it in the dust. And it's like, is that how you handle everything? I start to
Right.
wonder about them as a friend.
Mhm.
So if my life becomes too complicated and if I'm depressed and if I go through my phases where I can't pick up the phone because I could barely take a shower, are you just going to disappear? And if you are, totally fine. I have a good support system. But I would like to know that so that I don't waste my time with someone who doesn't have the capacity to be able to ride the roller coasters of relationships and emotions. Because for me, that tells me that there's lacking of emotional intelligence, and I don't have time to hang out with people that are not emotionally available and on my level. Hence why we have this podcast.
Agreed. Agreed. One thing I want to say, just kind of before we wrap up for the night, what part of safety do you challenge with the most when it comes to your family? Because that's a different dynamic than being safe with your friends. Because, like you said, you can be more cutthroat with your family, but at what point does that cross a line and you're no longer safe? You're just a bitch.
I think, I mean, in my family, we cross the line daily. like, we're really just like a bitchy crew. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, I don't know. We all got a really thick skin. Like, even when Dom was first around my family, we all talked to each other very like aggressively, very loud, very like, we'll see each other and then like, I may not like something my sister's wearing. And I'm like, what are you wearing? Why are you wearing it like that? But it's all love because then I'll be like, come here, I have something for you. And then I'll pull something out of you know, my suitcase and okay, put this on. So it's like, was I really a bitch or was I just like looking out? You know what I mean?
True.
But like from outside looking in, you would probably be like, oh, she's a bitch. But like that's not how we see it. But there are times where because we know we're going to forgive each other and we know how we are and we know we love each other, I think that there are moments where we've taken it for granted.
Really?
We've gotten into fights that should have never happened and said things and done things that it escalated to a point where I hope it never gets that way again because it really made me feel differently about my family and it hurt
Yeah,
me
of
to
course.
my core because I have such a close relationship with them, but I hope that that closeness never causes us to get so comfortable that we forget that we're still humans
Mm,
and that we still have limits and we still have boundaries and we still need love, regardless how rough and tough we are and how we grew up. We still need those soft spots. And I think the difference with my family is that sometimes, well, yes, I could be more cutthroat about simple things. I maybe don't feel as comfortable to be so cutthroat about deeper, more vulnerable things as far as things that have hurt my feelings in the past.
yeah,
Like I've shared with my family, like, a lot of the times it's me coming to visit them and I don't feel like they always come out to visit me, and this has been
agreed.
something that I've shared, and it took me a long time to truly share it with them and be like, "Nah, it really does hurt my feelings that I continuously see this happening." And there's things that I still haven't said, like, I recently tried on wedding dresses and my close, like my sisters or my mom couldn't make it. And it definitely was something that hurt my feelings because I was just like, well, I get life happens and we can't always make everything, but there are times where I feel more scared to share how I feel with them than it would be if I had a friend. I might not avoid the conversation with a friend, but I avoid it with them.
That makes
So
sense.
sometimes they don't get everything.
That makes sense because you never know who in the family is gonna tell what other family member either, because there's almost like that, like you said, the comfortability level that is kind of unfiltered, so it's almost like it's a free for all for what gets said because you're gonna find out anyway, it's the family, and that's not fair.
Exactly. And also people could take it wrong or say the wrong thing. And it's like, I don't want to start that because those relationships I truly cherish and can't live without.
Yeah,
So I think I'm just tiptoe a little bit more
sure.
where I would hope that those would be the relationships that I don't have to tiptoe. And I used to think that I didn't, but I've started to realize and now that I do tiptoe those relationships.
Well, maybe the clarity will give you a little less tiptoeing, a little more stomping.
I mean, maybe we're getting there and we're being honest and having that, but also it gave me an opportunity to share like with other people when they don't feel safe to me,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah,
being able to be like, hey, listen, I actually went silent on you because you said X, Y, and Z, and this didn't make me feel safe. And depending on how they handle that too, right? Like if they're like, well, that's on you. No, that's on you. Like
It's a
you
two-way
did
street.
this to not make me feel safe. If you're
Right.
going to keep doing that, even though I've shared with you that I don't like it or it makes me feel uncomfortable, now that's on you.
Right.
Before it was on me because I didn't share it.
Mhm.
So now my goal is to pay attention to when I'm not being a safe friend and see if it's something that I can budge on. And if I can't, then sorry, I just wasn't a safe friend at you for you at that time. It is
Yeah.
what it is, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then two, be honest with people so that they know when they're not safe friends to me. Because I be secretly mad at people and then they don't never know. And then I just get over it. But I wasted however many months not hanging out with them because I had to wait till I got over something they didn't even know I was mad at them about. That's not fair. It's crazy.
It's not. It is a little wild. Yeah,
I know. It's crazy.
it is. It's all right. We're all a little crazy. That's what we're doing here. Is we're trying to decipher the crazy, not make
Right.
sense of the crazy, because that's not something we can do. But we can try to make deciphering out of the codings of crazy.
Exactly. But you know what helps when you have a friend who can understand that, like I said something to you earlier, like you get it. That's exactly how it is. That's exactly how I feel. Like that's important to have.
That's right. One thing that we can relate on is episode 9. We're heading near to the end of our season. And something that you and I both share and that we both had in common when we first had this friendship and when we first started talking was our bond of weight loss and the fluctuation and the struggles. And we did touch lightly on that a few episodes ago. And it is going to be a reoccurring theme in our discussions. But we do want to focus heavily on the aspects of weight loss and not just what it feels like to lose the weight, but the weight of what the weight loss does to you and the effects of the people around you and what they think they can say to you based on what you present to them in the world of social media. So we're going to unpack all of that in episode 9. So make sure that you stay tuned to come back next week, every Wednesday, 5 a.m. Aligned Anyway. I'm Josh.
And I'm Tiffany. Have a great night, guys. And thank you for listening.
Good night.